Direct from Kansas City, it's Comic Book Late Night with Captain Logan! Featuring thoughts on comic news, obscure character of the week, and a little something from the comic vault. And now, here's your host, Captain Logan!
Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to Comic Book Late Night. I am indeed Captain Logan. Tonight, I am extremely excited, nay flabbergasted for tonight's guest. Tonight, I get to talk to Tina Alexander and Daniel Baxter of the incredibly, insanely popular animated parody series How It Should Have Ended, which is one of my very favorite web series. And I was thinking a little bit about How It Should Have Ended and how there's lots of other things besides just movies, and they're doing video games now too, but they've never done comic books, and I'm just thinking there's lots of other things that don't always end exactly the way we would expect them to. And so I thought, what would the How It Should Have Ended treatment be to certain big comic book story arcs? Now, I'm not an artist, I'm not an animator, so I just thought I'd throw some pitches out of ideas that I have for maybe some How It Should Have Ended for certain comic book arcs. The first one is Siege. So at the end, Damage Control just shows up and puts Asgard back up with a rainbow bridge in no time, and everybody's happy. How the return of Bruce Wayne should have ended. Well, Bruce Wayne shows back up at the end and tells Dick, hey, thanks for keeping the suit warm. Dick's like, oh, sure, you're welcome, Bruce. And Bruce kind of politely hints that Bloodhaven is probably overrun with bad guys by now, and maybe he should go ahead and get a move on. And then Dick says, oh, sure, Bruce, no problem. Bruce gets back in the bat suit and jumps in the Batmobile and rides off toward the Bat Signal. And how about how the death of Superman should have ended? The Legion of Superheroes shows up from the future and shows Superman, before he's killed by Doomsday, what his costume is going to look in a couple years. So Superman decides to just stay dead. And now I've got a brand new slew of variant covers for you from the last 2 weeks. Here's Kirby Genesis number 2. For the last time, no, I didn't have a movie out this summer. And Flashpoint number 4. Well, we've been fighting for control of the world, but at least this is something we can both agree on. Red Skull Incarnate number 2. Cower before our ominous lack of swastika. Action Comics number 903. Can I have a big ass on my chest too? And a cape? And now Green Arrow number 14. I mean, really, who draws a stoplight on a Green Arrow comic? It's just asking for this. Wait, stop! Don't you see the stoplight? Red means stop. Green means go. And now, a trivia question. What popular alternate reality in the Marvel Universe, written in the 1980s, is sometimes referred to as Marvel's 811 universe? If you think you know, leave your answer in the comments below, and I'll be sure to mention your name in the next episode of Comic Book Late Night. Last week's question was, what was the name of the Dark Horse imprint started by Frank Miller and John Byrne for creator-owned projects in 1994, which only lasted until 1998? The correct answer to that is Legend, and that was correctly answered first by Patient Foe 11. And now it's time for another exciting edition of Know Your Batmobiles. Here's a Batmobile. Was it from 1992, 1996, or 1998? And I'll be sure to come back at the end of the show and tell you what the year was for that Batmobile. I've got a rockin' show for you tonight. Like I said, a little bit later, we're going to talk to the creators of How It Should Have Ended. Got lots of interesting questions for them. And right now, tons of news, so let's jump right into it. So, you know, it seems to me, or maybe I just haven't noticed, that DC hasn't done a lot of crossovers with other companies in a long time. It doesn't seem like Marvel has either, but DC is teaming up with IDW to do a crossover, and that's really exciting news. And they're doing Star Trek and the Legion of Superheroes. Yep. I mean, I'd love to be more excited about this, but really the Legion of Superheroes, I don't know. I guess it makes sense, because they're really spacey, and they're in the future, although, you know, a lot farther in the future than Star Trek. Anyway, I don't mean to complain, but I mean, like, you know, finally some crossover news, and it's Star Trek and Legion. What's really funny about that is that both DC and Marvel have at various points had licenses for Star Trek, which means that theoretically DC could have done a Star Trek Legion crossover a long time ago if they'd wanted to. Marvel did one with the X-Men, and it wasn't another company because they just had Star Trek. So anyway, there's that. If that excites you, I'll read it because I like some of IDW's Star Trek. I'm just not a big fan of Legion. That's nothing against you Legion fans. And somebody recently sent me a bunch of Legion in the mail, and I will definitely give it a shot. That's not to say that I hate it. I just don't know it very well, and I couldn't get real excited about that news. Lots of movie news this week, however. We've got some Dark Knight Rises pictures. We've got both some new stuff for Bane. We've got him in full costume. We've got him fighting Batman. And we've also got some Anne Hathaway pictures of her in not the Catwoman suit, but a suit, because it doesn't look anything like a cat. Now, there have been some people complaining about both costumes and about how underwhelming this all seems. And that's fair. Keep in mind that it's Christopher Nolan, and he likes to do a really kind of realistic kind of thing, so I didn't expect we'd get anything real super villainy costume for either of these guys. Keep in mind that Scarecrow in Batman Begins didn't even have a costume, and the Joker did, but they made a really big deal out of how he was trying to be theatrical and how Batman kind of sent all that in motion. Whereas with both Catwoman and Bane, it seems like in this universe it would have been a tough stretch to have seen either of them doing a big supervillain costume. Now, that's not to say that Anne Hathaway's, Selena Kyle Catwoman might not end up with a Catwoman-looking suit more toward the middle or the end of the film. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like who knows exactly what story they're telling? So, what I encourage people to do is not to jump the gun, because after all, there was some talk even at the beginning that maybe there wouldn't be Catwoman in this movie. Maybe she would just be Selena Kyle. And what she's wearing looks a lot like what an actual master thief would actually wear. So I don't have any problem with it. Okay, so biggest shocker of the year so far, Laurence Fishbourne cast as Perry White in Man of Steel. Yeah, that Laurence Fishbourne. Really? I never in a million years would have thought that. It's so far off the beaten path. But fantastic, assuming they use him right. To take such a great actor, Laurence Fishburne is one of my favorite actors. And even though he's not who you would immediately expect, what I would hope is that somebody like him was chosen because there's something specific they have in mind for him that's a little different from what we've seen before, and that is actually going to be integral to the movie and not just show up for 2 or 3 minutes. So yeah, I'm actually really excited about that, assuming that they actually utilize the fantastic greatness of Laurence Fishburne. And we also have a Superman picture. Finally, a picture of Henry Cavill as Superman in Man of Steel. He looks fantastic. I can't believe how good this new costume looks. I like it a lot better than the last one, than the Superman Returns costume. And I love the giantess. The cape is amazing. Anyway, I'm just flabbergasted by it. Now I wanted to read something that was sent to me by Simba317, who brought this to my attention from Sandiego Comicon. Some kind of disturbing stuff going on with DC in regards to their female writers and also female characters. Here's what she writes. Dear Captain Logan and Vince, I don't know if you two know this, but the topic of women creators and characters at DC Comics came up at the panel at Sandiego Comicon and was met with aggressive derision by Dan Didio. To put it frankly, I feel so disheartened and I'm appalled but also saddened by the attitude toward fans and also toward women. The two fans that asked about these topics, a man and a woman, were both shot down. It's such an important topic, and I was wondering if you could please take the time to cover the story in your blog and also to spread the word about fans and what they're trying to do about it. So I read up on this, and she was nice enough to give me several links. And basically, there's this lady who on Twitter goes by the name of KRax2. You can look her up. She went to San Diego Comic-Con wearing a Batgirl costume and went to a lot of the DC panels asking the same kinds of questions at all of them, because each one she seemed to be met with hostility when asking about female creators and female characters, especially as Simba said with Dan Didio. And basically what she would ask would be things like, why is it with the relaunch that you went from 12% women staff to 1% female staff? And Dan Didio, every time she would ask him something like that, would deflect it with a question. which is the classic way to deflect things that you don't want people to ask you when you're taking questions. And it's also really irritating because if you're asking for questions, why not answer them? But anyway, so she said that, and he said, well, what do those numbers mean to you? It just seemed like a really kind of jerkish thing to say instead of just coming right out and answering the question. And there were several other things like that also. One of the links below, you can actually you can actually read an interview with her and all the various things that that she talked to Dan Didio and also Grant Morrison and some other people about. And basically, to make a long story short, things finally turned out a little bit okay in the end. I mean, like all the way through this thing, she was met with hostility by some of the writers and artists, but also especially by fans in the audience who would just boo her and tell her to get down. And she wasn't being hostile; she just wanted to know why DC, which has usually been pretty female friendly, suddenly is dropping a lot of their female writers and artists and suddenly doesn't have as much going on with their female characters. And it turns out that they actually are listening to her a little bit, and that some of the plans that they had mothballed for some female creator-owned projects, they're actually bringing back, and that they're sending out letters to some of the women who used to work for them that they would be interested in working with again. So that's all really good. What's really obnoxious to me about it is that Dan Didio apparently actually had some decent answers he could have given, and he just didn't feel like fielding the questions. And he thought he just would prefer to be kind of mean about it. Because later on, she talked to Gail Simone, who, of course, a lot of the fans of the panel were saying, well, they've got Gail Simone, so they're female friendly, when that's like nearly all they have right now when it comes to female creators. And Gail Simone and her husband both told her that there were actually some reasons for this, and that it wasn't going to stay this way. So the biggest things being that there were female creators that they asked to do things with the relaunch who just weren't interested or were busy with other projects, and that they have some plans a little further down the line that aren't associated with the 52, because it's not like the 52 is all they're doing. They have other plans later on. But apparently they still weren't doing enough, and this awesome fan kind of changed their minds a little bit. And what I really liked about her is that she made a big deal out of how it isn't that she's like, that she thinks that male writers can't do female characters justice, and she cited a few that she thought were doing great work with female characters. It's just that it seemed like they were alienating, maybe on purpose, part of their fan base, that they really do have female readers. So anyway, it's good that things turned out better than expected, and hopefully DC continues to do more things with female creators, of which, as we've seen from the Womanthology project, there's tons of. And anyway, this just goes to show you that one person in something like this really can make a difference. Well, hey, that's all for the news tonight, and be sure to check out Duke and Manos' new show for more news I may not have covered on Duke Loop's 1993's channel. My very special guests tonight are Tina Alexander and Daniel Baxter of the very hilarious How It Should Have Ended series, and here is a little clip from one of my favorite episodes.
Come on, hit me. Come on. I want you. Come on, hit me. Hit me. Hit me. Hit me. Hit me. Whammo.
Okay, and I'm here with Tina Alexander and Daniel Baxter of the insanely popular animated web series How It Should Have Ended. Guys, how's it going?
Good.
Good, how are you?
I am fantastic. I'm really, really excited to get to talk to you guys. I've been a big fan of How It Should Have Ended for a couple of years now. For those of you that don't know these guys, How It Should Have Ended has over 250,000 YouTube subscribers. They are partnered up with stars. Their videos have been on television. And Spider-Man 3 has over 10 million hits, which is, by the way, my favorite of you guys' videos.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I do a show called Superhero Rewind where I do these in-depth analysis of superhero movies, and I could not write that one without thinking about your video.
Awesome. We have accomplished something then.
Yeah.
Why don't we jump straight into the Comic Grill right away? Question number one. I know you guys have sometimes done polls in the past and such with your viewers on which movies to do next. I'm curious as to how much influence your viewers have in what films you parody and overall how you pick them, because obviously you have a big plethora of things you could choose from.
They have an enormous pull in terms of what we choose, but I will say that we do take a little bit of discretion in picking stuff. Otherwise, we would have only superhero movies to show for. But we do kind of keep an eye out on what the comments are, what people are requesting, and if there's a big majority, it kind of becomes obvious, like we're about to do Harry Potter, and that was strictly because of just years of requests. Please do Harry Potter. Please do Harry Potter. So, yeah, we definitely listen to the fans as much as we can, because if, we're not making them happy, then what are we doing it for?
Yeah.
This is kind of off the cuff, but is that kind of how the Tron rap happened?
Well, yeah, now that you said that, I don't know. That was part more of my own personal ambition, I think, but also Tina was the one that said make it a rap, because I wanted to do just a Tron animation, and then Tina somewhere, I don't know how you thought of it, but just said
we were joking, awesome. And you made there was some joke when we were writing it that was off of some old rap, some 80s
the
rap.
OPP song.
OPP song. Yeah.
It was originally going to be an OPP parallel with MCP.
Yes.
And then...
And it just made me laugh so much that I said, we have to do a rap. We have to do a Tron rap, so...
Well, that's one of the things I've always really liked about you guys' stuff is that it's not always the exact same format, which you'd totally expect with that. But then, with Spider-Man 3, where you guys go, there's so much wrong with this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the impression I got, where it's like, we can't just do the end.
Yes.
Right. Well, we try to keep a little bit of variety too, just so that it stays fun for us to keep making parodies, but also to keep the audience guessing, so that, like you said, so it doesn't just feel overdone, the same jokes every time. So yeah, the Tron rap did kind of help that a lot. It was a different take. But the Spider-Man, actually, that was a different era too, because I had a lot more time to work on it than we do now. We're under deadlines now with the Stars stuff, so it's like, I don't know when we'll be able to do it from start to finish ever again.
Yeah, although Harry Potter almost rivals it in length.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big one.
Yeah.
Now with the Harry, I don't know how much you guys can talk about it, but with the Harry Potter thing, are you just doing the last movie, or are you going all the way through?
It's kind of both.
Oh wow, okay. We
originally tried to, and I can't say too much, but we originally tried to do a from start to finish. That was the original joke, like bring back the Spider-Man template, like just how crazy would that be to see on the screen Harry Potter from start to finish. And we started writing it out, and we're like, no, there's no way.
It's like 10 pages long. This is not going to work. So
you've got a feature-length film.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we had to scale it back for our own sanity, and we just
pick and
to be
choose.
able to do it in the time allotted. So
yeah,
but it's still a good one.
Yeah, it's longer than the normal ones. Yeah.
Daniel, question number 2 is for you. I think part of the success of your show is your voice acting, honestly. And I gotta ask what kind of preparation you go into to get such close performances to the original performances, because I can always tell it's you, but you obviously put a lot of time and care into making it sound as close as you can, but still very parody. What do you do to get that?
A lot of trial and error, maybe. I don't know. I sort of grew up, watching cartoons and even things like the Muppets. So those things kind of interested me at an early age. So voice acting was always something that I sort of paid attention to. And so in terms of impressions, I think I just sort of, I don't know if it's something I've practiced over the years, but it's just something I've really observed over time. And so when it comes to the time to record our voices, I would say it's a lot of me trying it one way, listening to it, no, that didn't work, erase that, and then maybe a lot of research just mimicking it to the microphone, until it works. And if it doesn't work, find somebody that does sound like it. Yeah, because I can't do all the voices, but sometimes we don't have a choice. So I got
well, and I mean, but the sheer number of them that you do is staggering. I'm actually somewhat surprised to find that you haven't had any professional training.
No, actually, I wasn't really like in any theater or anything growing up. Wow. It was really just art was the only thing. It really expanded my artistic drawing. And that's one of the things I find the weakest in what we do. Honestly, I'm my own worst critic, I guess. But yeah, I haven't really done anything professionally like that in the past.
Well, my hat's off to you. That's really amazing that you can do both like that.
Thank you very much.
It's quite impressive. Question number 3. You guys already kind of answered this, which is awesome. So you are big fans of comics and superheroes.
Yes, yeah.
I think we would say we're fans. I wouldn't say we're experts.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because I enjoy sci-fi and I enjoy adventure stories and anything that's just fun, excitement. So, but yeah, I don't dare claim to be well knowledged in the world of superheroes. So that's it can only go so far.
Although I think I'm becoming more knowledgeable because I have a 4.5-year-old son that's obsessed with superheroes. So we've started watching the Avengers cartoon and we watch all the old Spider-Man cartoons, and so I feel like I'm learning more than I ever knew about those characters.
Do you guys keep up with current comic books at all?
Not so much in the superhero. I just started reading Sandman. We went to Comicon San Diego a week and a half ago, and
yeah, I saw your video on that. I was going to ask how that was.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind, and we don't get any sleep, and it's exhausting. But I always pick something up when I'm there because I want to read more, and so I'm about 8 books into Walking Dead, and I just started Sandman, and
well, good for you.
So yeah, and you used to read Batman. The
HISHE series was my favorite Batman series. But our buddy, or I guess the voice of Spider-Man, actually, Victor Van Scoit, he's a huge comic book fan, and every time we've gone to Comic Con in the past, he's always like handed me or pointed us in directions. I feel bad that he can't be here to answer this question.
Yeah, he's our expert. Yeah.
He turned me on to his X-Men series. Now I can't even remember what the full title of it. Joss Whedon wrote it, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh, was it astonishing?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't think of astonishing.
Question number 4. I really love that you guys don't just make videos about the most recent popular movies, but you go back and mine the classics. And I was going to ask if you guys have plans to do more older movies, and I also got to ask, is there any chance you'll ever do Tim Burton's Batman?
Wow. Well, we love that you like the old ones.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we like doing those, and sometimes we feel like some of we have obviously a very young contingent of fans that, weren't born when Top Gun was in.
Well, but you've got plenty of us mid-20s, early 30s guys too. Yeah, the Terminator Back to the Future thing was brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All-time favorite. I love that one.
Yeah, I love that one too. Tim Burton Batman. What do you think?
I wouldn't say no. Because I'm all for. I love using the Batman character, and if we can use our cafe scene,
anytime you can use it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What did we do recently? Oh, we did a Christmas special with the Nightmare Before Christmas segment, and that made me think, man, Tim Burton's style is very art heavy.
Yeah.
Very, very, lots of swirls and black and white. It's definitely challenging, so I think it would be cool in terms of making a Batman, Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm. So maybe.
Yeah, let's not say no, but I can't say guaranteed at this
It's
point.
not on the schedule right now, but that's an interesting
request. I didn't figure, but I just had to ask because that's one I've always thought, they should do that. It's one of my favorite movies. It's also got plenty of stuff wrong with it.
Yeah.
And it just would not be hard at all for you guys to come up with stuff for it. And after doing Richard Donner's Superman, I'm sure you'd get plenty of hits on that.
Right.
It's true, yeah.
Final question, what led you guys to start doing video game parodies, and are you planning on doing lots more of those?
Do you want to go?
Yeah. Well, we partnered with through Stars with Machinima, and Machinima writes the scripts for those.
Oh, okay. I saw their logo on one of those and was curious. Yeah.
Yes. So it's sort of kind of a collaboration because when we do a movie, we watch the movie several times, and so if we did a video game that has like 14 hours, 15 hours of playtime, it would take us just forever to write those scripts. So yeah, we have Machinima write the scripts, and then we get kind of final approval, although sometimes we don't necessarily know, and we just produce them basically. So it's been interesting. We've done, I think, 5 now, and it's been a totally different beast for us, but pretty cool to kind of get to go into that art and that gain some new fans through video games and stuff like that.
It's interesting to find out that you guys don't write the scripts for those, because if I may say, those, though not entirely, are a little bit less kid-friendly than your normal stuff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's the thing we've talked about with the Machinima team, is that, the styles are different, the writing is different, but the humor is definitely much more adult at times, and we've even,
those are toned down.
Censored some of the stuff that's come through, and but that that's a different taste. They're definitely a bunch of college kind of guys that don't mind that sort of thing. But we know that our audience is of all sorts of ages, so we try to be sensitive to that to some degree, so that we don't just offend our own home base at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even still, it's quite a bit tamer than a lot of other video game parodies.
Right, it could be
stuff
way
like that.
worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely not. I mean, we're happy with the way things have been going, but it has been a new experience going forward, because we never really collaborated before with anyone outside of our own little circle. Mm-hmm. So it's been a growing experience, but it's been a good one at that.
Yeah, they're really nice over there. We've met a bunch of them at Comic-Con. Just recently. Before that, it had all been through email, so.
As most things are these days.
Yes, very true.
Well, I've always really respected you guys for doing so many family-friendly videos. And I mean, I'm not saying there's not room for other things also, but I mean, like, your stuff, I can show it to anybody, and there's just not enough of that going on these days.
We agree.
Cool, thank you, yeah.
I really like that I can just, send those videos to anybody in an email, and anybody will appreciate it, and they won't, send me an email back being like, I'm at work, dude, I can't.
Right.
What are you doing?
Yes. That's very true. I think it makes us really happy that they're, kind of safe for all audiences. It gets challenging when we do rated R movies.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things I've always been impressed with. I mean, you guys do everything. I mean, like Predator, and anybody can watch it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Before I let you guys go, let me also ask real fast, now that I've thought of it, how do you guys do the animation? Like, Daniel, is that all you by yourself?
Yeah, it has been for the majority of it. The video games segments, I've been fortunate enough to have a new animator kind of team up with me, and we sort of tag team some of them, but for the most part, it's been me in After Effects since the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then just the progression of me sort of teaching myself, I guess, improving over the years. Because, I mean, if you look at our old stuff, it looks pretty bad in comparison to the animation now. But yeah, it's
well. I'll meet you halfway and say it's improved, which is
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I look at the old stuff and think I'm sort of embarrassed that we put that on the internet.
300's actually one of the more impressive animated ones, I thought.
Which one?
300.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've worked really hard on that one. It was cool to hear you say that.
It was neat to see the art on that one, since it's such an artistic film. That was kind of outside of the box too.
That was a tough one, because when you think of 300, everyone thinks of the battles and the blood and the fighting, and so we were like, how can we create jokes around that and then not break our backs, trying to build it in the computer. And I really like the way the sequence turned out, because it doesn't really focus on the battle, but you still get to see some fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because
Well, and I love the joke where, I don't remember who it was, where the guy's like, you know, those slow motion battles you guys are always fighting.
Yeah, just totally were slow-mo fighting.
Well, Tina, Daniel, thanks so much for being on and for talking with me. It was great to get some insight on how you guys do your stuff.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
we
thank you.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. And viewers, anybody who's not seen these guys, make sure you go watch them. Lots of fantastically hilarious videos all the time. How often are you guys putting out content now?
We're scheduled every 3 weeks to have...
3 weeks now? Wow.
Yeah. We used to be once a month, and then we trimmed it down. So it's every 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, thanks again for being on. And now, back to the show.
Some of our subscribers have some independent projects they're working on that I wanted to go ahead and mention right now. One of them is Hi, my name is Mr. J, Jonathan Johnsick. He's got a little book out on Lulu.com called Denny Decatur Book 1, and here's the read-up on that. He says, Captain Denny Decatur is a charismatic, handsome, cocky cop of the Newbury Police Department. Only he's no ordinary cop, he's got superpowers. He is the front line defending Newbury City from evil. It's an 84-page book. It's available right now on Lulu.com. It's just $3.96 for paperback or 99 cents for a digital download. So if you want to go support our good friend, Hi, my name is Mr. J, that's how you do it. There's also a subscriber by the name of TMMW Writes, who has a motion comic that he's doing on his channel called The Executioner. It's a little bit explicit. It's kind of an adult thing, so make sure you're old enough to watch that. But anyway, it's called The Executioner, and here's a little clip of it right now.
The pigs think this other side of mine is responsible. I am the other side. I am the executioner. This is my story.
And lastly, there's a subscriber by the name of the 5DGX, who used to have a channel that got taken down for some copyright problems with music and things, I think. And he's just coming back now, and asked me to mention his name on the program so that some of his subscribers might find him if they haven't found his new channel, and so that some of you might go check out his work. He's got some really neat fan art that he's doing with various superheroes. And at the end of the program, I will show off some more of his fan art during the credits. Today's Obscure Character of the Week is brought to you by Man-Bat, who wants to know why his name has to be hyphenated when Batman's does not. Have you ever heard of The Spot? First appearing in Spectacular Spider-Man number 97, Dr. Jonathan Owen was hired by the Kingpin to figure out how Cloak's powers work. He figured out how to recreate the effect with a small circular portal which blacked out the whole city. He walked into it and found himself in what looked like Cloak's dark dimension, but it was a different one, with dozens of other portals swirling around him. He learned he could use them to go wherever he wanted. When he returned, his skin was covered in the portals, and he called himself the Spot, which Spider-Man thought was hilarious. Spider-Man defeated Spot after he joined a team often known as the Legion of Losers, but he's appeared several other times since, once when he was captured by the Gideon Trust to open a portal to the Negative Zone, and another when he helped Tombstone escape from prison, which Tombstone repaid by snapping his neck and apparently killing him. But then he appeared again later with no explanation as to how he survived, only to be killed by Elektra and resurrected by the Hand. And then Wolverine killed him. Then he came back again during Civil War, so apparently he's just really hard to kill, I guess, because of his powers, though it's a bit mysterious as to how he keeps coming back. His most recent appearance is in fact in Daredevil number 1, in which he's hired to make an assassination during a mob wedding, and he's stopped by Daredevil. Many fans know him primarily for his appearance in the 90s Spider-Man animated series, where he's fired from Stark Industries for developing the Spot technology. And special thanks to Bizarro Critic 15 for giving us today's Obscure Character of the Week. Can you imagine if Bizarro was a critic? And if you have an idea for Obscure Character of the Week, or some fan art you want to show off, a question you want to ask me, anything like that, feel free to send me a personal message on Geekvolution, and I'd love to hear from you. You can also send us a package or a letter to our P.O. Box, and that's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. And now it's time to find out what I've pulled from the ever-sprawling comic book vault. Today on the Comic Vault, we're going to take a look at X-Men Classic number 55, sent to me by the Comics Kid 2099. This is actually a reprint of Uncanny X-Men number 151 from 1981, in which Kitty Pryde's parents force her to leave Xavier's school in favor of a place with more kids her age. A lot of attention is focused on how upset everyone is to see her go, especially Storm, and she kind of throws a fit, which Storm says is uncharacteristic of her. But an interesting twist takes this somewhat out of soap opera territory and into something far more interesting, as we find that the school she's being transferred to is none other than a place run by the Hellfire Club, where the White Queen is the dean. Professor X decides to do nothing to stop it, since doing anything would reveal the existence of the X-Men to Kitty's parents and everyone else. So Storm offers to drive her there and make sure she makes it safely. But while there, Storm is confronted by Emma Frost, and then later starts to act kind of strange, until we discover that Emma Frost has switched bodies with her, which may have been the Hellfire Club's plan all along. It's interesting to see the two switched, Emma Frost trying to pretend she's Storm, but being distracted by how awesome her new weather powers are, and Storm dealing with having dozens of voices in her head at once, not knowing how to control her new telepathy. The comic isn't without its odd or goofy moments. At one point we see Storm wearing a half White Queen, half Storm suit while Emma Frost is in her body, and then just afterwards she's wearing Storm's regular outfit, so I'm assuming that's just for the audience's benefit and that she isn't really wearing that. It looks kind of silly. There's also a fair amount of action as Wolverine, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and the others have to fend off a bunch of Sentinels toward the end. And of course, there's a lot to keep up with in an X-Men book. We've also got Nightcrawler's romance with Amanda Sefton, Kitty's romance with Colossus. Okay, so I guess it is kind of a soap opera, but it's really dense with story and pretty unpredictable, with the intrigue of the Hellfire Club, and the surprising things Chris Claremont does with these characters' powers. The cliffhanger at the end has Storm in Emma Frost's body going to see Kitty and accidentally hitting her with a Cybolt and knocking her unconscious. Or maybe worse. Some of this feels more melodramatic now compared to modern comics, but most of that just comes from extraneous writing. Or, again, extraneous to us now. Characters often say or think a lot more than we need them to, especially Storm, who comes off as extremely excitable and on edge about everything, and narration boxes often tell us pretty much what we can clearly see in the panels. I'm not complaining, that's pretty standard for a lot of Bronze Age comics, especially X-Men, but it's something to note when going back to these if you're not used to it. And now it's time to find out the year for tonight's Batmobile. Tonight's Batmobile was from 1996, which was used in the Batman Grendel comic and was inspired by Batman Forever. Well, hey, that's all the time I have for you tonight. I want to thank once again my very special guests, Tina Alexander and Daniel Baxter, for being on the program. If you haven't seen How It Should Have Ended, be sure to check it out. It's the funniest thing going on online right now. Thank you very much for watching. If you're ever in the Kansas City area, be sure to check out our official sponsor, Pop Culture Comics in Overland Park, Kansas. If you're not, be sure to support your own local comic book store. And remember the old, ancient, mad scientist motto, what good is science if no one gets hurt? I'm Captain Logan, signing off.